Opentoonz is a 2D animation software and it is free. In this video, I'll be talking about the interface and how to navigate it. If you want to do 2D animation, then this particular software is very good for you. Now, I'll put the links to download this software in the description so you can be able to download it. Now, after downloading and installing it, you're going to launch the software and you're going to see this particular interface. Now, whenever this comes up, the first thing we need to do is to create our project. So I have several projects I already have in my work, but I'm going to create a new project and I'm going to call this project class new. Now this part, it has a part where it's going to be stored already, so I'm just going to click OK and it's going to store itself automatically there. Now once I do this, now it's going to ask me, do I want to create a new scene or do I just want to open another scene? So I will say I want to create a new scene. So, but if you don't want to use this, you can always go over here and you have scenes. So when you have an animation project, you can have several scenes in your project. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to call this scene 1. Now this is where it's going to be saving. Already it has been chosen, but you can change it from here if you don't want it to be saved at that particular location. Here you have your camera size, and if you want to go for HD or any other type of view or type of camera view, you can be able to change it from here. If you want to go for a 4K, you can go for it there. So I'm going to go with HD for the meantime. And here you have the width and also the height and the resolution of your animation. Here you have the frame rate. The frame rate basically means how many pictures will be shown to you in a particular second. This is one of the things that determines how smooth your animation is going to play. The standard here is 24. You can actually go for up to 30 frames per second depending on what you are actually creating. Now here I'm going to create a scene. Now once you create the scene, you're going to see the full open source. You're going to see the full view of the software. Now here I'm going to come here to the file, and this is where you have things like new scene if you want to create a new scene, or load an existing scene that you want to bring in here, and other things like revert scene and quit and other stuff like exporting your scene. But this is not a rendering view. This is not a rendering property here. So over here we'll have the edit, and you can be able to also do things like scan, and you can create levels. Now generally we'll call this the menu, so we'll have different menus here. Over here we'll have different workspace that you can be able to use, and that is the drawing, the cleanup, the palette, the ink paint, the animation, the schematic, and other workspace. So this workspace represents different things that we're going to be using for a particular work. So if you're drawing, this will be very good for you to draw, but if you're animating, this one will be very good for you to animate. If you look at where you actually puts up your scene, you can see the way it is here, and it's very good for animation, dragging through your timeline. Now I'm going to go back to my drawing. Now one key factor here is that sometimes you discover that some of these things you might mistakenly draw them out from where they are. Maybe for example, I can draw this out and draw this out, and maybe it becomes difficult to even bring them back to where they are. Now when you encounter this particular challenge, one of the things you could do is simply to go to your Windows, go to your workspace, and then you can just do reset default room, and you can say yes, and then to ask you that it's going to restart it, and you say okay. Now you can go back and restart your scene, and you can see that once you restart it, you can go back here and you see that everything comes back to the way it is. If you do not restart it, if you do not reset the workspace here, you actually see that the entire thing will actually return back to the way it was before when you actually scattered it. Alright, so that's all for that. Now over here we'll have the tools. So here we'll have different tools, and I'll be introducing these tools in details in another video. So you have different tools for animation, for moving things, and you have them here. And over here we'll have the actual canvas where you're going to be designing all your animations and anything you're going to be using. We have other few buttons over here that you can be able to use, but before that, if you look at up here, we'll have the properties, and whatever particular tool you select, the properties will actually change, so that you can be able to change the features of the properties. For example, if you click on this geometric tool, you actually see that you can come in here and change different things. So you can change the kind of geometry you want to draw. Now this is for the properties here. Now over here we'll have the palettes, the color palette. So we'll have here the color, and if you actually come down, you actually see you have a place where you can be able to actually tweak the color to whatever you want. If you just drag this, now we're going to be talking about colors more in a different video, and you can be able to create different palettes in your work. So this is just basically how you can be able to create that. Then over here we'll have the level strip. We'll have the level strip. The level strip is basically a strip where you can be able to change what you're actually seeing in a particular level. Now, for you to understand this level strip, let's view over here to understand what is really happening here. I'm going to drag this up here, and you see that everything here that is appearing, just like in software like Photoshop, will have things coming up in layers. Inside Opentoonz, everything comes up in columns and levels. So each column represents a particular layer, all right? But that layer can either be a vector or a raster level. So that's the type of column that you actually have. So you have various columns here. So if you actually go into animation, you see that they actually appear like this as columns. So each column can actually represent a particular item, either an audio, a camera, or a picture, or a vector graphics, whatever you have created. Now let me come back here. So we'll have this particular column. So this column now, I can actually come in here and click on vector and just click OK. And here will now become a vector layer in this particular column. Now whenever you have this column, and let's say for example you draw something on it, you can actually come to this level strip. So let's come back to this level strip and understand it. So the level strip is basically a way of being able to have multiple things in a particular image or a particular level that you are in a particular column that you're actually working. So for example, let's say we want to do a lip syncing where we want to have different mouth shape for the same mouth level. So let's say for example this column is a mouth, and we want to have different mouth shapes for it. So this level strip is what makes it possible for us. So we can come in here and click, and then we can be able to draw another shape. Let's say for example a circle. So this one is a circle and this one is this, and then we can click down here and actually draw something else. So this is just basically what this is used for. And if you actually come back here, you can actually see this is what you're going to be seeing, but you can actually switch it. So if you switch it, you can be able to have a different shape at a particular time. So but this is not for this tutorial. I'm just trying to show you what this level strip really does. So over here we'll have a timeline, and this determines what you're actually seeing at each of the frames. So here we'll have frame 1, frame 2, and this is because we have changed this to frame. So you can change it to 3 seconds sheet or sec frame. So but right now I have my frame. So over here each of these represents a frame. And remember when we talked about the 24 frames per second, it means that 24 of these frames represents 1 second. So anything that happens from here to here will show in the screen on the screen for 1 second. So that's what you have to bear in mind. So over here we can be able to actually tweak this. So this is where our animation really takes place, and everything we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about animation later. Under here we have the camera, and the camera is just basically what controls what you actually see. So you can actually be able to move the camera to wherever you want it to be. So other things here, like we said, are the different workspaces. So depending on what you're actually trying to do, if you're doing things like rigging, you come into your animation and you can be able to, come over here and have these schematics to be able to parent things and be able to have control over it. Now, the last thing I want to talk about here is this options here. So in these options, we'll have where you can be able to play animation. If you have multiple animations or multiple frames that you have created, you can be able to play through, or you can be able to loop the animation, and you can be able to center your things later. So all the things we are doing is just basically being able to create different kinds of things. So in summary of everything, Opentoonz is very simple to work with once you understand how it works, and you can be able to easily navigate everything here. It's not a mystery, it's very, very simple, and you can be able to navigate this around, scale this, and you can be able to make this frames to appear smaller or bigger depending on your needs. So this is all for the interface here. I hope you understood everything here, and I will if you like my video, make sure you like the video and subscribe to my channel and share the video with your friends. And I will see you in the next video.